Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to our podcast for the Western Cultural Civilization Midterm Project. We are Group 12, and today we are going to talk about the legacy and significance of Oedipus Rex by Sophocles, one of the greatest tragedies in ancient Greek literature.
Hi, my name is Azkia Nawaratana Nur. So, in this discussion, I will focus on the major themes and the dramatic techniques that makes this play such a masterpiece.
Hi, I'm Najwa Bahri. I'll be talking about its philosophical meaning. The question it raises about human life, and how it still connects to modern society.
And I'm Affan Ishaq. I'll start by explaining the cultural and historical background of the play before we dive deeper into the analysis. Okay, so to begin, Oedipus Rex was written around 429 BCE, during the height of Athenian culture, a time when philosophy, art, and democracy were all developing. Theater wasn't just a form of entertainment, it was part of religion and civic life. The plays were performed at the festival of Dionysus, which celebrated Dionysus, the god of wine, fertility, and theater.
Right, and that's what made Greek theater so interesting. It wasn't just for fun, it was seen as a moral and spiritual experience. So, the audience believed that watching a tragedy could teach people about human behavior, ethics, and a respect for the gods.
Exactly. In Oedipus' story, we can clearly see the Greek belief in fate. The oracle at Delphi predicts his future, that he will kill his father and marry his mother. And no matter what he does to escape it, it still happens. That's a reflection of how the Greeks saw destiny, something controlled by divine power that humans couldn't change.
It also reveals their moral values. Oedipus' determination to find the truth, even when he's warned to stop, shows the Greek admiration for honesty and integrity. But it also warns about hubris, or excessive pride, which was seen as a dangerous flaw that could injure the goods.
And the play's influence didn't stop there. Its themes and structure shaped Western drama for centuries. Writers like Shakespeare, for example, use similar ideas in Hamlet and Macbeth, where the hero's choices and fate collide tragically.
Absolutely. Oedipus Rex gives us a window into how the Greeks viewed life, a mix of faith, moral duty, and the limits of human control. Imagine sitting in an open-air theater with thousands of Athenians, the sound of the chorus echoing across the stage, watching Oedipus slowly uncover his own guilt. It must have felt both like a spiritual lesson and a deep emotional experience.
So now, let's talk about what makes Sophocles such a brilliant playwright, his dramatic techniques.
Okay, so the first and most famous one is dramatic irony. From the beginning, the audience knows that Oedipus himself is the murderer he's trying to find. Every time he swears to punish the killer or calls for justice, we feel a mix of pity and tension because we know what he doesn't.
And that's exactly what Aristotle meant when he said that Oedipus Rex is the perfect tragedy. It creates catharsis, an emotional release of pity and fear. The audience feels sorry for Oedipus, but also afraid because his downfall feels inevitable.
Sophocles also uses foreshadowing very effectively. For instance, like early in the play, Oedipus says, I curse myself if the murder should be found in my house. That line takes on a whole new meaning once we realize that he's the murderer.
And another important feature is the chorus. The chorus isn't just a group of background singers. They act as the voice of the community, reacting to the events, commenting on the moral issues, and guiding the audience's emotions.
So it's kind of like how modern movies use narrators or background music to set the tone. The chorus that it makes sure that the audience understand how they should feel.
There's also a lot of symbolism in the play. The most obvious one in blindness, Oedipus can physically see, but he is blind to the truth. Then, when he finally learns the truth, he blames himself, which symbolizes how painful knowledge can be.
That's such a powerful image. His blindness becomes a metaphor for human ignorance. How sometimes we refuse to see that right in front of us.
Another thing to notice is the structure of the play. There are no unnecessary subplots or distractions. Every scene leads directly toward the moment of revelation. That's part of what makes the play so tight and intense.
So, would you say these tactics are why the play still feels powerful today?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Even though we already know how it ends, the way Sophocles builds this suspense keeps us engaged, almost like watching a psychological thriller.
So, when it comes to themes, one of the biggest one is the conflict between faith and free will. The plays ask questions that people see debate today. How much control do we really have over our own life?
Exactly. No matter what Oedipus does, he can escape his prophecy. That's a reminder that sometimes our choices are shaped by forces beyond our control, whether that's destiny, society, or even our own nature.
Okay, so his blindness, both literal and metaphorical, also reflects human ignorance. He can see the world around him, but he's blind to who he truly is. Only after he learns the truth does he physically blind himself, showing that understanding can be painful.
That's a great point. And it also connects to the theme of truth versus denial. Oedipus keeps searching for answer even when everyone tells him to stop. His determination for truth led to his downfall, but it also made him noble.
Hmm, I think that's why the story feels so timeless. Everyone has moments when they have to face uncomfortable truths. The play captures that universal struggle between wanting to know and being afraid of what the truth might bring.
And that's what gives Oedipus Rex its emotional power. It's not just about destiny, it's about the human condition.
Okay, now if we move to philosophical side, Oedipus Rex goes beyond tragedy. It's like a moral study of human suffering and responsibility. It asks the question, why do people suffer? Are we guilty if we do wrong without knowing it? And can wisdom come from pain?
That's connect to the Greek ideas of hamartia or tragic flaw. Oedipus' downfall isn't caused by sin or evil. It's caused by his pride and determination. His belief that he can escape fate becomes the very reason he fulfills. It's both ironic and profound.
And that's the essence of hubris, human pride against divine will. The Greeks saw hubris as the root of tragedy, not because pride is evil, but because it blinds people to their limits. Oedipus isn't punished for being bad. He is punished for forgetting that he is human.
And I think it's not just about pride, it's also about knowledge and ignorance. Oedipus is a symbol of human curiosity. He wants to know, he wants to solve the riddle of Thebes, but he can't see the riddle of his own life. That's such a powerful metaphor for the limits of human reason.
Yes, and even though he acts without knowing, he still takes responsibility. That's what makes him so noble. When he discovers the trap, he does not deny it or run away. He blinds himself and goes into exile. It's a form of self-punishment, but also self-awareness.
And that's one of the most moving parts for me. Oedipus's guilt isn't legal guilt, it's moral guilt. He feels responsible not because anyone forces him to, but because he truly believes he must face the consequences of his actions. That's a lesson about integrity that still matters today.
Exactly. It reminds me of something existential. Philosophers like Start and Camus talk about thousands of years later. That life's meaning often comes from how we respond to suffering. Oedipus' acceptance of his fate turned tragedy into understanding.
I agree. His suffering gives him a kind of wisdom. By the end, he's blind but finally sees himself clearly. It's a tragic enlightenment, one of defines what it means to be human, limited, flawed, yet capable of truth.
So, when we talk about Oedipus Rex as literature, it's not just a famous old play. It's the blueprint for almost every tragedy that came after. Aristotle even used it as the perfect model for tragedy in his Poetics.
The play structure, the way everything builds slowly toward that one devastating revelation, influenced generations of writers. Shakespeare, Hamlet, Macbeth, and Othello all echoes the same struggle between faith, pride, and moral truth.
Even beyond literature, the story shaped modern psychology. Sigmund Freud was so inspired by it that he named one of his most famous theories after it, the Oedipus complex. He used it the he used it to explain unconscious desire and human development, linking ancient myth to modern science.
That's what's fascinating, how a myth written in 2000 and 400 years ago could become a foundation for modern thought. It shows how deeply Oedipus Rex explores human behavior and emotion.
And the influence doesn't stop there. Poets, playwrights, filmmakers, and even philosophers have used Oedipus as a symbol of knowledge, guilt, and identity. The idea of a person searching for truth and being destroyed by it appears again and again in stories from Frankenstein to Inception.
That's probably because the story is universal. Everyone, in one way or another, is trying to understand who they are, and what journey can be both enlightening and painful. That's what gives Oedipus Rex its timeless power.
And the language of the play, even in the translation, still feels alive. The tension, the rhythm, the emotional build-up, all of it makes the play feel immediate. It's not just old text, it's living drama.
I think that's why it's still taught everywhere in literature, philosophy, and theater class. Every generation reads it differently, but it always speaks to the same human truth.
So, what's amazing is that Oedipus Rex still feels relevant even after 2000 years. It themes identity, truth, pride, and responsibility continue to resonate in today's world.
Absolutely. The story has been reimagined in so many modern forms plays, movies, even science fiction. Every adaptation finds something new. Some focus on the psychological side, others on the political or social meaning, but they all keep the same core question. How much control do we have over our fate?
And that's a question we ask all the time in modern life. We might not believe in oracles anymore, but we still deal with things beyond our control, like family, genetics, or society. We still struggle between accepting what we can change and fighting for what we can.
That's why the story works in any context. It's about confronting truth, taking responsibility, and learning from suffering. Those are timeless lessons, not just for individuals, but for society too.
I think it also reflects something psychological about humans. We often repeat mistakes, ignore warnings, and only realize that the truth after we've been hurt. Oedipus represents that pattern, a mirror how we grow through pain.
Yes, the play reminds us that wisdom often comes too late, but that's part of being human, learning the hard way, and maybe that's what makes this story so powerful, even for modern audiences.
And what's beautiful is that the play does not lose hope. Even after all the suffering, Oedipus gains understanding. It suggests that meaning can come out of tragedy. That's something everyone can relate to, no matter the century.
It's no surprise that the play continues to inspire new art, from films to stage play. It speaks to the universal human condition, like our flaws, our pride, and our endless search for truth.
And that's exactly, whether in ancient Greece or today, Oedipus Rex remains a mirror that forces us to face ourselves. Okay, so to sum up, Oedipus Rex is more than just an ancient tragedy. It's a reflection of what it means to be human, our strengths, our limits, and our unending desire for truth.
Through its deep themes, its careful structure, and its philosophical depth, it still teaches us about faith, morality, and self-awareness.
And that's why, even after thousands of years, Oedipus Rex continues to stand as one of the most powerful and influential works in Western civilization.
And I think that's all for our podcast today. Thank you for listening to our podcast.
We hope our discussion gave you something to think about or maybe even made you see the story in a new way.
Until the next time, goodbye everyone!